Hey, what's up, everybody? C-Man here, letting you know that this is the review you should have gotten yesterday for Spooktober. I indeed did fail again, although I got a lot closer. I watched and reviewed the movie, but before editing it, I was like, let me take a break. I'll pop on a couple episodes of Lovecraft Country, which I decided to start catching up on yesterday for Sunday's finale. And then the next thing you know, instead of watching one or two episodes and then editing, I watched 6 episodes, and then it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I gotta pass out. So here's yesterday's Spooktober review just for you guys. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, and back in for a little more Spooktober action. That's right, all month long, I have been watching and reviewing different spooky, scary Halloween movies for myself and for you guys. As you can see the list in front of you, pretty good mixture of movies. And this past week has been a run of classics. And yet we don't end on a 70s, 80s classic like most of the movies we've watched this week. We don't even end on a slasher movie, which is like most of the movies we've watched this week. But we end on a character that might be one of the scariest of all of them for me. This movie terrifies me every single time I watch it, so I'm real excited to talk about it. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat, we're getting ready to dive in to the Babadook. Oh, dude, I tell you what, man. This is top 5 scariest movies all time for the C-Man. This movie freaks me out every single time I watch it. And let me tell you, watching it in an apartment all alone, late at night, really amped up the terrifying, even though I've seen this movie, more than a handful of times. And what's funny is the apartment that I'm in, I'm the first person to ever live here. So I know there's no history, there's no ghosts. I'm sitting here watching the freaking Babadook, and we're getting into like I've watched about 3/4 of the movie. So we're in like the last act, the last quarter, where like everything's starting to go like crazy, and somebody was moving or doing something last night at like midnight. I just kept hearing shaking and scratching noises that were syncing up with the movie. I literally was sitting in my recliner just going, all right, just focus on the movie, don't look behind you, things are fine. And then like the first moment that there was like a beat of non-scary stuff going on in the movie, I got up, turned all the lights on, got an ice cream and a creamsicle out of the freezer. I was like, nobody's here. Okay, we're really good. And that's what this movie does to me every time. Like I said, top 5, and depending on the day, this might be the scariest movie I've ever seen. Jennifer Kent, who's writing and directing here, man, does she know how to craft like an evil entity spirit type ghost movie. The Babadook on its own is horrifying just visually. I mean, long black coat and shadows kind of cover almost all of his body except for his bright white face. But these long pointy fingers or nails or both. And it's the way that she utilizes them. Like the look on it in and of itself is creepy, but the way that she's able to extend those fingers out in certain scenes, or make it seem like he's swallowing up the entire room with his like black color, in shadow. The way she makes him move the first time we finally get to see him, he's like the Babadook is this really interesting mixture of different horror elements, and she gets the like. There's an entity that's moving around the house like really, really well, man. Like it's up on the ceiling, and there's a thing with the mom, and we'll get into the story and what this movie's about. But the thing with the mom is like a lot of times when she hears things that are starting to freak her out, she goes like under the covers, and it allows for like the shadow to like come over the covers. And when she looks up, man, you just see this like almost slimy looking creep. Like it's his body makeup and texture changes throughout the whole movie, and it is just like terrifying stuff, start to finish, man. Like she really knows how to pull the tension amp up the suspense and scare the living daylights out of you. And it's not jump scare the living daylights out of you. It is like starts in your toes and just creeps all the way up to your face where you're just like, no. And so much of it has to do with the story and the performances that Kent is getting out of her actors, as well as the way that she just shoots the whole thing. I love the slightly kind of monotone, like almost like softened light filter that's on the whole movie. It kind of gives you like this feeling of like overcast and like something is hanging over everyone that's in the movie, specifically our main characters. And just the way that she, like I said, can use open space and just let the camera sit, or the way that she can push in and cut, like, it just all works for the creepy factor. And one of the other things that I love that Kent does in the movie is the way that she uses sound, specifically with the mother's storyline, Amelia. She gets to like a couple different breaking points in the movie, and the way that Kent uses sound, whether it's irritating sound, you know, like the sound of a nagging kid or a barking dog, or just normal sounds that when you've had no sleep and you're stressed out, and just the drip of a drain or the ticking of a clock or the microwave being on, just the different household or just setting and ambient sounds that you hear in the movie, and the way that she dials those up, specifically as Amelia is starting to lose it sometimes, is just wonderful. And when it comes to the Babadook, as much as the visual terrifies the crap out of you, the audible is horrifying. You know, the book kind of that's in the movie outlines the fact that he'll knock 3 times, and the knocks will be like, you know, his name, you know, the Babadook, Duke. That's the way it's written in the story. And it says it in the movie in like the most chilling, creepy way ever, man. It's like, I can't even replicate it, man, but the way that it just kind of gets that, like the but like 10 times more scary and horrifying than that. But like when it says its name and it drives the volume up, like too, like it kind of builds slowly, and when it gets to its like peak, the noises that freaking come out of this thing, oh man. So from sound and visual, Kent just has all of it on lock, and the story is just top notch for me. It's about a single mom. You know, the husband died in a car accident on the way to the hospital with her about to have her child. So the movie is like 6 or 7 years later, and it's her and the kid, and they live at home, and you can see that the things have been tough on her, and that she's had a real tough time coping and dealing with what happened to her and her husband, and the fact that her husband died in that accident. And every night she reads the kid a book, and one night the kid grabs one, he's like, read this one, and it's called Mr. Babadook. And it's one of these, like, you know, you open it up and you get these pop-ups, and it's a creepy story, like right from the get-go. And the look of the Babadook itself is, like I said, all black suit, top hat, black long hair, and this crazy white face. And as she's kind of going, you start seeing that it's going to get creepier and scarier. So she stops showing the kid to see the rest of it. And it's horrifying imagery. Before we get to the most horrifying imagery, you know, and it's one of these things where once the book shows up, it kind of says, you know, once you let the Babadook in, you can't get rid of the Babadook. And the more you deny it, the stronger it gets. The movie plays with that a lot because the mom just refuses to believe that what is happening is real. You know, she says this to herself a lot of times. This isn't real. This isn't happening. And that just feeds the Babadook and amps it to go crazier. It really is spine-tingling stuff. But as you kind of go, and the Babadook obviously gets let in and starts to kind of haunt them. Things that happen with the book, she tries to get rid of it, she tears it apart, she sets it on fire, it constantly comes back, and eventually more pages get added to the book, and it kind of foreshadows what's going to come on the back end of the movie. And the execution of showing us what is going to happen and then getting us to those moments, oh, tremendous. And like I said, while Kent does so much with the writing and the direction of the movie, the acting is the thing that really cements everything. When she gets out of Essie Davis, who plays the mother, Amelia, and Noah Weissman, who plays the son, Samuel. Whoo-wee, man, like, it is so good. Like, I will forever say that Essie Davis was overlooked the year that the Babadook came out. And most horror movies get overlooked come award season, but what Essie Davis does, from playing the mom to the single mom who's dealing with the trauma of the loss of her husband that coincides with the birth of her son, like being the same day, like that is a world of trauma to kind of have to deal with. And the fact that she hasn't completely gotten over it, more of like, I've tried to ignore the fact that he was part of anything because it was all pre-Samuel, and hide it and bury it, like that's her moving on, and that wears on her, and you physically see it in Essie Davis's performance. And then as the kid wears on her, Samuel is not a perfect child, and the first half of that movie, man, you are like, I would wring this freaking kid's neck. Like, he's a little psycho, and I love creepy psycho kids in these types of movies, and Noah Weissman does an excellent job. But the way he wears on his mom, like, you get it when she starts to finally snap, like, I just need a break. And then when you start adding in all the haunting elements that are going on with the Babadook, and her not buying into it initially, and then you start to actually kind of feel for Samuel, and we'll get there. But like, as all that's unwinding, she is losing her mind because she's not sleeping, and when the Babadook finally gets in and she's kind of like possessed. Woo-hoo-hoo! Spoilers. Sorry if you didn't know. But like, the way she plays all that, it just knocks it out the park, front to back, start to finish. She nails all of it. They ask her to do so much physical and emotional acting, and she shows all of that in her face and her performance and her voice. Oh, her voice is the way she goes from quiet to angry to this terrifying moments that we get with her. She just knocks it out of the park. And then Noah Weissman, who plays Samuel, he's a top-notch creepy little kid, man. You hate him the first half of this movie. I mean, he's into building weapons and getting into fights, and then obviously, like, he's very blunt. Like, when he first meets you, he's like, yeah, my dad died the day that I was born in a car accident, bring him home to the hospital. And they're not British. I don't know why I said it like that. But, like, he doesn't, like, he has no filter. He just says whatever, and he is. If you've ever had that irritating, like, little brother or sister, or just that period of time where they're that kind of young and they can just, this kid nails that, man. Like I said, I was feeling for Amelia the whole movie, because I've had little brothers and sisters, and they get to that age where it's just that nagging gets to a point you're like, I'm gonna, what, and you get that from Essie Davis. Noah Weissman nails that stuff. And then when the haunting stuff starts happening and he's reacting to things that he's seeing that Amelia's not, or that he knows is going to happen, there's this kind of shift in where you start to feel for him, because we know what's going on and Amelia's still denying it. And the fact that he's coming from a good place. So they give this little kid, Noah Weissman, like, a lot of complex material to deal with. And he just crushes it, man, and he pops the whole movie. And obviously, we don't have to talk about the Babadook because we've already done that. But I love the way that they utilize him and all the things that go into the Babadook and how that plays, like I said, in the final act of the movie. And that combo of three is really what cements this. Yes, we have some extra performances from folks like Haley McElhenney, who plays Claire, Amelia's sister, Daniel Henshaw, who plays Robbie, a co-worker. They kind of pop in and out of the movie, and it's those moments with those characters that really let you see the wear on Amelia and how she is struggling with things. So their performances, while small, are important to Amelia's character and her story. And when you have those performances mixed with a really, really good story and mixed with excellent direction, you get a really good movie. Throw in the fact that your director is crushing the horror elements. Like I said, this is a movie that every time I watch it, I've got to watch a cartoon afterwards. I got to turn all the lights on. Like, I was freaking out watching this movie last night, and I've seen it multiple times. I know what's coming, and every time it just makes me go like this. And that is the recipe to a brilliant horror movie. So while the Babadook ain't a slasher, He is a terrifying character, worthy of being in this week's conversation of horror characters. And Jennifer Kent certainly deserves to be mentioned among some of the greats in horror directing, man. The ghost story elements, and then the possession elements, and just how you get from point A to point B, and the way this thing goes down, it's just super impressive, top-notch stuff. And the Babadook is one of my all-time favorites. The minute I saw it, I was like, oh, this goes right in to the top end of things that scare me. So I love the Babadook, and it's a great movie to transition us into next week, where we'll start talking about more recent horror movies, some of that highbrow stuff from the likes of like Jordan Peele. So I'm looking forward to that, and like I said, I'm just a big fan of the Babadook. But now I want to know what you're thinking. Have you seen the Babadook? Did it terrify you? Does it terrify you every time you watch the movie? Am I being over dramatic and making it seem like it's worse than it is? Does the Babadook work or not work for you? As a scary movie, what gets you scared or messed up in that movie? How good are the performances, the direction, the writing? Or does it not work for you at all? Anything you're thinking about the Babadook goes down below as we continue on our Spooktober journey. I look forward to talking to all you guys down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out all Spooktober along with the C-Man as we watch and review a different movie every day. You haven't yet, you want to show a little love, a little support, jump over there, join the rest of the C-Maniacs by hitting that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry, C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.